What conspiracy theory do you believe to be true? What evidence led you to this conclusion? Marilyn Monroe was murdered by the US government. She frequently attempted suicide and then called someone via her landline next to her bed to come save her. When she died, no traces of it were found within her stomach and her colon had been extremely cleaned. A theory is that she was murdered via enema poisoning. I haven't brushed up on it or researched in a long time, so I am probably remembering facts incorrectly. Search it up on YouTube, it's quite interesting. No way. Used to live in a small town in South Dakota and I am convinced there is something in the food water there to keep people there. I'm partially convinced it's actually the Dairy Queen causing this. Because for a town of 7,000, this place is always so busy, and somehow, every year for the past 11 years, the entire length of this competition sells the most blizzards on Miracle Treat Day. A town of 7,000 outsells every other Dairy Queen. There's also some other things in that the town has a significant amount of people all with very similar disabilities to their left legs. I honestly am just glad I'm out of that town before it sucked me in. But how the hell does that small ass town sell 40,000 blizzards in a day? The stories about Dan Schneider. Watching some clips of shows he produces is downright creepy. The tweets of his actresses' feet don't help his cause. That Reddit mobile is purposely broken to make you download the app. Edit. I forgot to include my proof. Basically, when I started using Reddit roughly 5 or so years ago, it worked fine. Now every other page loads as page not found. Frickin' GIFcut makes to go to their website just to view a 5-second GIF. Plus, to top it off, they keep pushing the app on me that I already downloaded but refuse to use. It works terribly. The fact that there is a secret society of people keeping Long John Silvers in business. I have a sneaking suspicion that some televangelists may not be entirely sincere in their beliefs. I keep ink pens from every year dating back to 2008 in my desk so that if I need to forge and backdate an important document, I can sign it with ink that matches the year I'm backdating. Yes, feds do check ink in fraud investigations. Not really a conspiracy, but might answer a few questions. You don't need one of each year. Just use a pen from 2008 and it could feasibly have been used any date after that. Restaurant owners know how awkward it is to be sung to in front of the whole establishment. And they do it to discourage people from taking advantage of their free birthday food. Bro, I'll jerk off in front of the staff if it means free food. Reddit admins get unlimited gold and gold posts so it can gain traction. Edit. Why is the second highest rated comment removed? Is that bull? It said admins can give gold for free to promote what stories they want on the front page. iHeartRadio coordinates commercials breaks to all take place simultaneously, so you're forced to listen to ads even you change the station. They're practically a monopoly in my area and I notice it happens to me all the time. Every time someone posts about a safe on Reddit, they actually have already opened it and know nothing is in it before their first post. That the USA deliberately gets into an armed conflict every decade or so for the purpose of ensuring that at any given time, they always have a critical mass of soldiers with actual combat experience. They get in a lot of conflicts. And it seems highly probable that the leadership of a country that spends so much on national defense would highly value the institutional knowledge that comes from that kind of continuity of practical experience, even if it comes at a high human cost. This is more of a personal conspiracy. I've been working as an American healthcare consultant for 2 years now. And I genuinely think that insurance companies are purposely denying claims so that they can leverage $ for their beneficiaries' medical records. For example, one of my clients, a huge and important hospital system, had to deal with hundreds of thousands of dollars of medical claim denials because Humana suddenly decided it didn't believe any of those hospital stays were legitimate. They basically told my clients to either fax hundreds of medical records or accept the zero pays. It's really suspicious and unfortunate. But when they have the money, what can you do? Area 51 is not a place for secret government military testing with aliens and stuff. Instead, Area 51 is a scapegoat while shady behind the scenes stuff is going on at another military base that the general public doesn't know about. Semicolon. I mean, if you were really going to do something in secrecy, would you do it in the place where everyone thinks it is? Hell no. I don't have any specific evidence to back this up, but it makes sense, right? A forensics specialist believes Jamie Hewlett of Gorillaz is Banksy. It's not as big as other submissions here, but it's a theory I buy. Edit. Thank you everyone for providing your own theories in the comments. I buy into a good handful of them now. The thing I like about these threads is that there are people reading these comments right now who know something important about the theories and they just aren't willing or able to provide that information here. That Apple started the AirPods meme. And right before Christmas they would give out $150 gift cards. Edit. Whoa. Didn't expect this to blow up. I fully believe companies are using memes as a marketing technique. Disney made Zootopia partly to replace the Song of the South characters from Splash Mountain. Splash Mountain is really the only thing that still exists in the public eye from Song of the South, along with the song Zip-a-Dee-Doo-Dah. Since Disney wants to pretend that movie doesn't exist. So they created a movie featuring Fox and Rabbit characters that could replace Bro Fox and Bro Rabbit. And Ray themed the entire ride to be Zootopia themed, while leaving some things, like the name and the songs featured in the ride, from Song in the South. There's also that Disney loves Ray theming things to their IP now, getting rid of Maelstrom and bringing in a Frozen themed ride. So it would make sense for them to retheme a ride to a successful recent movie, then keep a ride based off an old, mildly racist movie they are trying to forget. I'm starting to think that the really stupid conspiracy theories, vaccines causing autism, flat earth, lizard people, etc., are intentionally spread by propaganda groups and troll farms. They don't care what stupid you believe. But they are very interested to know that you're a gullible mark who will believe anything with no evidence. And won't do research with authorities on the matter to find the truth. If you want to spread misinformation, look for the people who do it as a hobby. Gum's gotten mintier lately. Have you noticed? Like, some of it's just too minty. Mason jars created Pinterest to sell more mason jars. Edit. Wow, my first silver. Thank you, kind and mysterious stranger. The 10-year challenge all over social media is actually a way to record and gather more facial recognition data. The F-35 project overcost was actually a slush found for secret research. The lines on the detergent caps are higher than they should be, so you use more detergent for each load of laundry. I have a theory that Tinder gives fake "you got a new match" notifications so people get excited and opens Tinder, which leads them to swipe more. Source: myself. The news report about beards containing more bacteria than a dog that just licked his own asshole. Beards are messing with facial recognition software. The man wants beards to not be trendy anymore. Our apartment building has windows that are nearly impossible to affix a screen to. Same goes for the sliding doors. The power is centralized and locked into a certain expensive power company. I believe the developer and power company conspired to make people living in the apartments use the aircon more by making it hard to keep windows open without dozens of mosquitoes coming inside. Edit. People are asking about my language. I'm Australian. Thanks to draconian Aussie renting laws, I'm pretty limited in which modifications I can do. I feel like drugs like cocaine being cut with fentanyl. No dealer who wants to keep making money is going to cut their blow with fent. It seems like drugs are being intercepted, cut with dangerous and then sent back out. Evidence. They already did the same thing during alcohol prohibition. The people doing it are convinced they are doing society a favor. Reddit works with the NSA. I see weird posts sometimes targeting my demographic to respond. Make sure to know you have no privacy here. I see some making throwaway accounts. Very smart. Some celebrities fake their deaths to retire from public eyes. I think the US made a secret peace plan with China after the Korean War. I base this on the way Chinese foreign policy changed so quickly and their lack of involvement in American wars in the decades to come. I think it fell apart in the 90s under Bush Sr. I used to tell people that I believed the government listened to our phone calls. Years later some guy named Snowden proved me right. I hope the NSA knows that Jennifer was lying. That the dust the Kleenex tissue have makes you sneeze more. Therefore using more tissues. I believe that there is only one ocean. My evidence. Oceans don't have borders and there is nothing to separate them. Edit. Guys. If you're kidding. Haha I guess. But if not. You're correct. And science has recognized this. There are technically no oceans. And the oceans as a whole are referred to as the world ocean. The Hawaii nuke false alarm last year was actually the US government testing to see how the general population would react if an actual nuclear war broke out. The authorities aren't telling us everything they know about the Vegas shooting. I believe that the government probably makes some conspiracy theories to try to make questioning the government seem somewhat crazy. The countdown timers on apps for games or streaming services are actually longer than seconds. Seems too long sometimes. I think Apple is pushing their AirPods on consumers by making their software updates less and less compatible with wired headphones. My reasoning. My new headphones have started to consistently skip songs. Activate Siri. Stop and start music without me touching or even moving them. I asked around and other people are having the same issue. Not to be a tinfoil hat person but. Tinfoil hat. Conspiracy. My local Jimmy John's waits until they have 3-4 orders to deliver before they bring me my ing sandwich. Evidence. Where's my ing sandwich? 23andMe is run by the government to collect your DNA and database it for later. I am 100% convinced that Hostess going under a few years ago was a total marketing ploy. Banks and landowners conspire to manipulate urban land prices. Turn an area into a ghetto by marking it as a high-risk loan proposition. Denying loans in the area. Property values plummet on a downtown area because no one can sell. Because no one can get a loan. Once things are down enough. You can buy up prime location land at pennies on the dollar then redevelop it into being worth the real market value of such a central location. Plus what you invested in the actual development. This is called redlining. It is illegal to do and there are many laws forbidding it. That's not to say banks don't do it. But it's illegal. Source. When Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, was at Harvard. He participated in a brutal psychological experiment led by Professor Henry Murray. The experiment lasted for 3 years and by many accounts they seemed to have an extreme impact on Kaczynski's psyche. I think this experiment was part of the CIA's MKUltra project and destabilized Kaczynski enough to where he eventually went on his reign of terror of sending bombed packages around the country. During the MKUltra project, the CIA collaborated with university professors on these mind control experiments but a lot of the documentation was destroyed when people started to look into it. TLDR. The Unabomber participated in an experiment that was a part of the MKUltra project that eventually led to him becoming a mass murderer. Michael Jordan's father was murdered in retribution for Jordan not paying off massive gambling debt. Jordan didn't retire and then come back. He was suspended for gambling. In the mid-90s. Michael Jordan was an industry. The truth about his gambling habits may have cost a lot of people a lot of money. So the cover story was presented. Edit. I admit the part about his father's murder is a bit of a stretch. But this is a thread about conspiracy theories after all. As for the suspension, I stand by that 100%. I believe that chapstick causes lips to become more dry a couple hours after usage. Apps gild their own submissions from alt accounts to give them traction. Source. The removed comments in this thread were discussing exactly that. Guys! Exclamation point. Hello there. The government pushes out tons of conspiracy theories so that the real ones don't stand out. Like the episode of The Office where Michael let slip that Stanley was cheating. So he made up rumors about everybody to hide it. I don't have any evidence. But it seems hard to deny. JFK. There was definitely something shady going on there. People badmouth JFK. But honestly, I think it's a decent airport. Donald Glover's performance is going to suck in The Lion King, 2019. Don't get me wrong. I love Donald Glover. He is an extremely talented actor and singer. But I don't think they cast him because he was the right fit for Simba's model. I think they cast him for name recognition. It is very suspicious that we've had 2 trailers at this point and we have yet to hear him speak. I think they may be trying to hide his performance. This evidence is not objective in the slightest. But I want you to go to the trailers and look at adult Simba. Then listen to Donald Glover in any of his previous roles or even in just an interview. His voice simply does not look like it will fit well with the realistic CGI lion model they have chosen. Ryan started the fire. Walmart hiring vampires. I won't necessarily die on this hill. I just think it's fun to believe. HBO has paid George Martin not to release the next book until the God series wraps up. I figure those books weren't even popular outside of niche readers until the show came out. People will still buy the books when they eventually release. So why not take a big old fat paycheck to sit on them? It's more like Martin is lazy and has been riding the royalty checks because he is really unsure how to finish the books. Now that the show is ending, he can see how one of the endings he was exploring will be received by fans, and if there is a lot of displeasure then he can change it. Also, I believe him and Patrick Rothfuss have a bet to see which one caves first to publish and publishes their next book first. That Disney made a movie named Frozen so that when people Google things like Frozen and Disney together, info about the movie comes up instead of stories about Walt Disney's frozen head. I really believe there are very few actual conspiracies. Mostly because the ones you read about are so complex and convoluted they would never accomplish anything. However, I do believe in the theory that segregation in America and the following war on drugs were a conspiracy to keep poor white people from voting along the same lines as poor black people. The goal is clear. Keep them apart so they can't talk about their common problems. This could lead them to vote against the system holding them down economically. What evidence led you to this conclusion? Everyone proceeds to post zero evidence. That the stars of Ancient Aliens are in fact aliens and they're just trying to tell us the truth. Anti-vaxxers are secretly trying to cause a genocide to lower the population. I don't need the proof. The Bandersnatch Black Mirror Netflix special collected watchers' data to better green light productions that were more in line with users' taste. Now that you point it out, isn't every movie on Netflix providing user preference data? Every time a case of police brutality comes about where they unjustly murder someone or torture them, floods of police dog pictures are posted to places like RAWW, RIBleach, etc. This is known as propaganda and is used to subconsciously make people think good about the police despite them bashing a black teenager's head against concrete. Whenever a future case of police brutality comes about, be sure to check these subs and I guarantee you there is a picture of a police dog at the top. All this complaining about millennials being lazy and entitled is designed to push more young people to prove they aren't by adopting unhealthy work habits, such as working overtime without complaint, not taking vacation time, etc. Edit. I think this became especially necessary after millennials got more burnt out and resentful as unpaid internships became a huge thing. It seems like that helped more people see the light on being exploited and manipulated by workplaces. More and more people are being screwed over by their employers while being told that they should basically be grateful that people are willing to pay them. Employers aren't cutting you a paycheck because they care about you. You fulfill their needs. They aren't your family. And if it's a 40-hour work week, You don't owe them a minute more than 40 hours. And that's not laziness. That's refusing to be taken advantage of. Redacted. Stevie Wonder isn't actually blind. Dude grabs a falling microphone during a Paul McCartney birthday jam, and he's also photographed taking a photograph of a Michael Jackson wax figure. Why would he need a picture of a Michael Jackson wax figure if he can't see? A fake. There are different levels to being blind. I think he can see a train coming at him but not be able to tell what kind of train it is. Polybius was a real experiment done by the CIA. Exposed reports from the CIA already have detailed their experiments with varying types of drugs and methods of making the minds of the general populace more open to suggestions, including poisoning an entire town's water supply with LSD. So I don't find Polybius too far-fetched. Public restroom urinal sensors are cameras compiling an extensive database of penis photos. There's no solid scientific evidence that this is false. Helen Keller's story is extremely exaggerated. Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that she and her family had found ways to communicate before Anne Sullivan came along. So it wasn't like she was completely incapable of communication prior to learning traditional sign language. But I'd also say her story post-water is under-exaggerated. At least in most media portrayals of her life. The focus is usually on her learning to communicate and going to college. Which is fine. But the true noteworthy things are the ones that don't get attention. She co-founded the ACLU. Fought for workers' rights, including being on the front lines of protests and picket lines. Was an advocate for equal treatment of other races at a time when most white women weren't. Was a suffragist and birth control advocate. And, obviously, worked tirelessly to ensure that disabled people were treated fairly. She was actually a target of FBI surveillance for most of her life due to her radical ideas. Apple keeps changing the head of their chargers because they want me off. Evidence. I'm always off. All of these people are offended by this thing posts you see are completely made up, fabricated, or exaggerated. Some stupid clickbait site sees a single nut job on Twitter post saying, "Hey, I think the song Baby It's Cold Outside sounds kinda s-ist," and then makes it sound like the majority of millennials are offended by something that no one actually cares about. I see people constantly talking about how we're all too offended by everything these days. But I almost never see anyone actually claiming to be offended by anything. If anything, it's just the contrarians who will defend any stupid idea for the sake of being contrary to the norm. No one actually cares. I have conspiracy theory that this exact RS Reddit thread is recycled every 1-2 months. Titanic was sunk to kill the most powerful men against establishing the Federal Reserve. JP Morgan, who funded it and invited them, was supposed to go but got sick and stayed home. The opposition were on the boat and died. Shortly after, the Federal Reserve was quickly established and it is still screwing over Americans as we speak. Only president that tried to get rid of it was JFK, and he was shot in the head for everybody to see. Let me issue and control a nation's money and I care not who controls the laws. Meyer Amschel Rothschild. Rothschilds still own all the banks along with the other elite, and they control us with media and our own government. They want us to never get married, not raise families, do drugs, hate each other, go to war. Modern drug prohibition is a for-profit endeavor perpetrated by governments for the benefit of pharmaceutical corporations, prison industrials, and warlords. That Gabon is ready to release Half-Life 3, but is polishing it so that when it comes out, it is the best game ever created. This has to be the least believable one in the whole thread. The Titanic Olympia conspiracy theory that states they were swapped. The story along with the theory provides visual evidence that the Olympia sailed as the Titanic and vice versa. Jonathan Fortnite Kennedy faked his own death at the most convenient time possible. In Dallas on national TV. He then went into exile to get a head start on training for competitive Fortnite. He changed his middle name of Fitzgerald to Fortnite so none would become suspicious of his name. Him changing his middle name also adds a predestination figure, and his style of play revolves mostly around sniping from grassy hills. Exclamation point. Open your eyes, people. AP Bio is Glenn Howerton trying to repair his image after Always Sunny. Always Sunny took Dennis, an asshole, and gradually made him a psychopath. He's often talked about how he doesn't want people associating him with Dennis, but he probably only hears people call him Dennis. In many interviews, he seems tired of being compared to him. AP Bio seems to take the awful person, Jack, a Dennis-like character, and gradually have him grow as a person. I think Glenn just doesn't want people to see him as Dennis for the rest of his life. That being said, I personally really enjoy AP Bio as its own show. Social medias will destroy humanity. It's not exactly a conspiracy theory because we know some of it for certain. But I believe the reason older generations had higher rates of domestic and interpersonal violence, and so often equated masculinity with violence, was due in part to exposure to lead in fuel, which then got into the air. Especially for those who worked in industrial jobs and with heavy machinery. Lead poisoning can also lead to depression, which is then self-medicated with alcohol, which makes the lead toxicity symptoms worse. Since lead was removed from gasoline, there's much less lead in the air and most people have much less exposure. And that's part of why violent crime rates are in more or less consistent decline. The USA will never add colleges to public funding like they did high schools because then the enlistment rate for the military would plummet. Source: everyone I know who joined the service just to help pay for school. Edit. Holy crap, this was a lot of notifications to wake up to. The question did say conspiracy theories you believe. So the comments arguing blatantly against my comment just make me giggle. And thanks kind stranger for my first silver. I never would have thought that this little comment would blow up.